Welcome back to the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Cole Thomas, with my co-host.
I'm super serious host, Cole Thomas.
I know. And we welcome on, as you heard him already, Mr. Jason Hirsh, our other boss and second guest of the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast.
Damn right.
And we are gathered here today.
Second all time?
Second all time. You and JC are the only
That's
two
it?
so far.
Damn, we gotta get you guys some friends.
I know. Well, we like talking to ourselves.
Clearly.
So
we're introverts.
We are here.
You have a lot to say to yourselves.
We are here, all gathered here today to talk about the American Baseball Coaches Association convention. What?
No, Connor and I we're all gathered here today.
There's another
dearly beloved.
That's on another podcast I listen to. That's how they introduce it. So
Dearly
we're here to talk about the
podcast.
ABCA conference, which we all just got back from in Nashville.
Yeah.
You guys got back early last night.
Yep.
I got back late last night because I wanted to spend an extra day, couple hours, as much as I could in Nashville. This was Jason's third ABCA. This was me and Connor's our first ABCA.
Yeah. So give me your impressions.
Go ahead for it, Connor.
That shit was wild. I loved every
But
second of it.
should I tell you what I told? Should I tell the fans at home that are watching this what I told you guys to go do?
Yeah.
And then you guys can fill in the blanks.
Go for it.
So if you've never been to an ABCA before, it's a giant coaches convention. There's 8,500 coaches there this year at the Opryland in Nashville. And they have lots of presentations, main stage stuff where, you know, these coaches get up in full uniform, head to toe, right? And they're talking about bunt defense and hitting strategies and pitching mechanics and shit like that. But there's also this giant, like 100,000 square foot trade floor, right? Where they have all the wares and, you know, balls and jerseys and technology and all that stuff. And so I told them, I said, listen, I said, they record all of these presentations. You can go back anytime you want and watch them. I said, the people on the floor, these are people that you've either only ever met through social media, wished you could have met, but never got a chance to, or they're going to be friends, acquaintances, business partners, whatever it might be. Go out there and make relationships, talk to people, do things that you can't do on a day-to-day basis. I could sit in front of a computer and watch a rerun of a presentation all day long. Right. And it's not like these presentations where people are throwing their hands up and asking questions. Right. So you'd miss out on that. But this was an opportunity for you guys to rub elbows, kind of see where you stand in the world, so to speak, and just see what's out there. Right. And at the end of the day, you got
Exactly.
fill in the blank. Right.
Well,
fill in the blank.
So what I did, I mean, you and I, we had talked about it prior where, I mean, ABCA has an app and they have a whole like itinerary and agenda that you can do.
That was useless. I don't know why we did that.
I think we spent an hour going through like, what would we want to
this
see?
sounds good. Sounds good.
Let's go see this coach. Let's go see, this mental skills coach who's going to be giving a presentation on mental skills training and stuff like that. I think the first day we were talking to the Driveline guys I think you and we talked to Kyle and Alan for like an hour. And I said, all right, I'm never going to make it to one of those presentations.
No, because you get locked up in those conversations, right? It's not like hey, how you doing, bud? We'll talk to you soon, right?
I think we'll get to it later about like the greater conversations we ended up having. But what do you got?
Yeah, man, it was just an experience.
Yeah, you spent a little more time away from Cole and I. You kind of did your little social butterfly batting thing.
Jason, I mean, I feel Jason and I went full blown like business on the whole thing, meeting people and and Connor was just kind of
we were also like hanging out with people that we knew, right. Connor, I think, was hanging out with people that he knew or people that he wanted to know, that I don't want to know, like meaning like hitting guys. Like I could give a shit if you're a hitting guy. It doesn't bother me. If you're a shitty hitting guy, that's even better. But I know Connor doesn't always associate himself with shitty hitting guys that are named Jeff Fry.
She gone.
Sorry, Jeffrey.
Maybe you'll see this on Twitter.
Ooh,
my bad.
That was cold.
Sorry, I forgot.
That was cold.
I forgot. His grandson.
This podcast just went downhill in a real hurry.
All right. Anyway,
no, it was an absolute blast. So I've had a buddy of mine named John Lamprose with 25 Baseball. Based out of California. He's been on, I have another podcast, and he's been on it a couple different times. And
he's not been on this one?
No.
Guest number 3, light him up.
Hey, yo, baby.
We got a list.
Coming for you, John.
Yep.
And just kind of hung out with him for a little bit. I feel
like I only ever saw you two together. that entire time.
There were two peas in a pod.
They
Oh, yeah.
they hit it off very quickly.
Oh yeah, no, it was easy because I mean we've essentially same ideas, same ideologies and stuff like that. He's a little further along in the coaching process than myself, and so just being able to like walk around. He has a pretty good social media following as well, and so just being able to walk around and there are people that I've like looked at on Twitter. I'm like, oh man, I'd like to meet this guy, and we're walking by, and all of a sudden they're grabbing John, like, oh hey John, I haven't seen you. And it's like, oh shit, okay, and
Like, oh shit, you know that guy?
yeah, and so
Like,
that
oh yeah, that dude.
oh, of
He's a good
course.
friend of mine. We shared some beers. It was amazing.
So it was like really cool. And then also, I mean, I'm wanting to get a little bit bigger presence on the social media side and everything like that, and just seeing how that gets run and what that's like and stuff like that. So seeing him interact with other booths that have maybe like a new product, and just seeing how he interacts with them and saying like, not how give me free shit, but essentially like, hey, give me free shit.
Right.
And I'll
Did he
blow it
do
up.
like the old like holding his phone up and be like, "Yeah, I'm here at the Hit Tracks booth with Andrew Barry, and Andrew, tell me about the latest thing." Did he like? Was it that kind of deal, or was
No,
he just
thankfully
like rubbing
not.
elbows and schmoozing with people?
Just rubbing elbows, meeting people, and he had seen a lot of people from last year's conference, stuff
Right.
like that. So seeing those guys and just walking through and just literally looking at, I mean, 5 different types of bat weights
Sure.
and different this and different that. So that was really cool. And taking a picture with Manny Ramirez.
You mean Little John? Yeah.
Little John.
So for everyone that's listening, Manny Ramirez
Just
was
Google
there.
Manny Ramirez like today, like 2023.
Yeah, Manny Ramirez looked exactly like Little John.
I'm gonna post a picture of it.
You should.
All of it and
I
stuff
don't know why.
like that.
I don't know why you haven't.
You're
You're saving it for a big.
Well,
like,
no, I was
You
planning
should do
it.
the one where you were like giving him a hug because the glove was hiding behind your back, and you're like, "Oh,
So
excuse me, Manny. Oh, it's just hug
Oh,
me back.
Manny.
It's okay, bro."
Your hair smells good.
Yeah.
No, it was an absolute blast, man. I loved every second of it.
All right, so let me ask you this: as you guys both walked around in lieu of me being with you, how many people recognized the logo on the chest
A lot.
and said something to you in the effect of, "Hey, I follow your guys' stuff," or "Hey, I've seen you before. Oh, I wanted to come meet you," whatever it might be.
Yeah, I had a couple of times like that. I think that was one of the things that was the biggest, I guess, form of validation. Was you and I both met him. This guy, I'm going to screw his name up, and I sincerely apologize to him. Believe it was Mitchell. And he was just a guy. He came. We were at the Driveline booth, right? Talking with Alan, talking with you
Wait, Mitch McIntyre?
No, was it? Oh, Mitch. Are you talking about Mitch? Or are we
No,
talking
I
about?
don't know. You said Mitchell. I was
Yeah.
like,
I think it was the Mitchell guy when we were at the Driveline booth, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Are you Cole Thomas?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh.
I'm Cole."
different
And-
Mitchell.
Yeah, different Mitchell. And he comes up to me and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I follow you guys in Fast, and I really enjoy what you guys put out there." And I'm like, "Oh shit, people actually pay attention to me."
They're just because that follower number, those are real people. It's
Exactly.
they're not just Russian bots that followed us back.
Right. It was
Thanks,
just-
Elon.
Because
It
I
was-
hashtagged them, right?
Yeah, it was just one of those weird things where I'm just like, "Oh wow, people actually see what I do and actually can appreciate it."
Yeah.
And I just somehow made a connection with a guy in Rochester, Minnesota, of all places.
Right.
And
What about you?
Yeah, I had a couple different people. Wasn't able to necessarily give their name or anything like that. But
Hey, random guy. That's now my best friend.
yeah, like it was pretty cool. Had a few people call me out for my fanny pack,
Yeah, you did.
so that was
Got
pretty
the
cool.
holster.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think for me, like, my first one was in Indianapolis, and then the next one I went to was Nashville.
But yeah, it was
before
Nashville.
it came back to Nashville. And I remember walking around that one and having a couple people notice some stuff. But this year, yeah, a couple people. Like actually, our boy from Baseball Jobs Overseas.
Yeah.
right, Jimmy.
Like at random, right? We're just standing over. Where were we? What booth was that?
We just got away.
Oh,
from
we were
Baseball
talking with
Vault.
DeMarty.
We were talking with
Yeah, we were
DeMarty
talking
and
with
Straley and Collins.
And and so we're just hanging out there, and this guy looks at my T-shirt and he goes, "I think we just partnered with your facility." And I'm like, "You did, huh? Like, who are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm with Baseball Jobs Overseas." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we did do that." And then that was your connection, Connor. And
Yep.
and so I was like, "Oh, I'm Jason. I own the place. This is Cole. He's pitching trainer." And so we started talking, but it's cool. Like you said, Cole, it's that validation, right? That, hey, maybe I am kind of doing the right things when
Right.
people recognize the logos on our shirts or our hats or whatever. I mean, that
And don't want to fight us.
right. Yeah. Or block us or whatever. But yeah, I mean, how many people like saw it and just like scoffed at us as they'd run?
I didn't know. I didn't really know.
Guys.
I kind of sat there as like I think it was more like you knew us and you liked us, or you didn't know us.
Right.
Like I didn't see anybody like look at it, other than people maybe I already know from years past that not necessarily they have a negative impression of Fast. It's more of a.
I mean, in all honesties, I don't know if we ever really made enemies over the years, so to speak. Right. It's more just, we're here to get along.
Right.
And share baseball knowledge and try and put out some occasional content. But like I said, I think from my standpoint as the facility owner, I've been doing this for so many damn years that it's just cool that when people go, oh, I know who you are, or hey, I've seen you guys, or it's just a nice like little pat on the back. Like, there's 8,500 coaches here. There's at least one of those guys that knows what we do, right? And that means we're banging the right drum and we're moving the right direction.
Well, that's something I thought was, and we did this like from the very first, like when we flew out, Connor wasn't on our flight, but it was you, me, Amanda, and your wife Pam.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things like it turned into a who's who on this airplane trip, where you get coaches that we all know, we get from different universities, different high schools, other facilities. And I mean, before we even got on the airplane, I said, I'm like, I know a lot more people in this industry than I thought I did.
Yeah, I mean, at least half that plane was Colorado baseball coaches that we all knew.
I think I had to be like 6.
I'm still mad that Scott Horman took the emergency rogue exit when he clearly didn't need it.
Well, there was the other one. I don't know why he didn't jump on that one.
I don't know.
There's emergency exits on both sides of the plane.
It was an older plane, so it's the one that has that like jump seat in it.
Oh,
he's sitting there. I'm like, must be nice, short guy sitting in the emergency row, right? He's like, oh, I have surgeries. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze myself in this sardine can in the back with the rest of the general population.
You took the aisle, I took the window, and I was kind of squished by the woman next to me.
Never take the window.
Listen to these guys complaining with Southwest issues.
I know. At least your bag got there in one piece.
True.
Sorry, I've had some bad experiences with United and my bag showing up in several pieces. I'm traveling.
All right, so we can transition to another. What was the going on to the trade show floor? I was
nice
thinking about
segue.
this. Sorry, but what was it?
Do you know how to spell segue? By the way, I think it's one of the most fascinating.
Oh,
things.
I know what it is.
How would you spell segue, Connor? Like the type of segue that Cole just tried to drop in there.
Oh, this is going to be bad.
I know what it is.
Yeah, I know Cole knows what it is. He's a smart guy.
SEG.
Go on.
WAY.
No, it's not the one that you ride down the street.
Is that how you spell that one?
That's not how you spell that
one. That's how you spell like the name brand Segway.
Oh, hey, the fact I got
Cole,
that,
how do we
spell
Segway?
It's SEGUE.
That's it, Segway.
Really?
That's it.
Yeah, it's like a French word.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know. I'm fascinated when people say Segway. That's all I can think of is I bet they don't know how to spell it.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask because there's something I always thought I was thinking about. So what was like on the convention floor, on the trade show floor? What was something you guys found the most interesting piece of tech or a company we found, or whoever it might be, a connection we made? I'm like, I could see this being something we could work on in the future.
For me, it would probably be OnForm. I really like that program. It's something that I've seen in the past. Facility down that at High Pro. I've worked with it a little bit, and so being able to talk with Chris Dunn, who has kind of been the guy that they've looked at to kind of help create it.
Right.
So seeing it from years ago when I worked with him to the product it is now, the price structure, how it operates, the communication aspect of it. It seems like something I'm really interested in compared to a lot of the other, analytical coach's eye style programs, stuff like that. And then another one was Lace Up. It's a bat weight that essentially you just wrap on the bat.
You did show me that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Chatting with them a little bit might be able to try and create a little something. They just got into the baseball
space. You get a promo code, a little fast RBI piece.
We're gonna try, baby. We're gonna try.
I liked that product when you showed it to me. I thought it was an interesting thing that one, it could be used throughout the rest of the facility as well, not only just in the baseball realm.
Cole's thinking about it from golf. That's always
there could be some good golf stuff in that.
Golf swing weight. I don't know. I think Connor pulled out a good one there, the on-form guys, because I
Yes.
think that like we didn't go necessarily into this looking for more product or like excited about a certain thing. Like, I think the first year or the first time it was in Nashville, I wanted to go to the Rapsodo booth, right? Because we had just bought a Rapsodo and I wanted to see all the cool new stuff, right? I feel like the market has been saturated, if not oversaturated, by a lot of the tech stuff, right? But the big players that are on the stage now were the big players last year and 2 years ago and 3 years ago.
There's not going to be a
There wasn't anything like groundbreaking, revolutionary that at least that I saw. Now again, there were literally hundreds of vendors there, so there's a great chance that I missed something.
Oh, absolutely.
But if I look at like all the biggest people that were there, right? You had Rapsodo had a massive presence, right, including their stadium unit and their 3.0 unit.
Well, that seemed to be
that was the big sell because it just came out, right?
Well, but like I'm saying, like in terms of like scheduling demonstrations, it was like hit tracks.
But they were also
Rapsodo
like front and center. The minute you walk onto the floor, boom, there's Rapsodo, right? So they got the highest exposure. Behind them was TrackMan. So we get to talk to Connor Sobbaum, who's our dude over at TrackMan about. But again, it's like everything that TrackMan's pushed out to us is what's new and exciting.
Right.
Right. So it's not like there was something that I'm anticipating or waiting for, right? HitTrax had like 3 tunnels. They were showing off a bunch of different software pieces. But again, the basic gist of HitTrax was there. It didn't change. Right. So, from the tech side of things, like those 3 players in the game, nothing was different. I didn't really think about it until Connor said anything about OnForm, but that is kind of something that we've been thinking about, right? Like, Coach's Eye has gone the way of the dodo. So,
well, it's just we've been looking for alternatives.
Right. But because Coach's Eye effectively stopped updating and supporting their app for whatever reason. As long as you don't delete it, you can use it. But like, what's bigger, better, that's out there right now. Coach's Eye cost me $5. OnForm is a little more expensive, and then there's other ones out there. So I remember stopping through at V1, which is one that when I go on to the groups and I say, hey, what is everybody using for video comparison analysis? I go, OnForm. So it was cool. So I stopped at OnForm and I talked to the guy, and he was super awesome, right? Showed me all the things you can do side by side, overlay, you can draw, you can dictate, you've got lockers and this, that, and the other. It was sweet. What's the price point? Right? Well, one coach, unlimited videos, so on and so forth. It was like what, $500, $560, $580, something like that, $530.
3.
No, he told me it was 5.
He told me 3.
Oh, well, you got a better deal than I got.
Hey,
this is not OnForm. This is V1.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking
this is V1. No.
My bad.
This is V1, right? So it was like $560, $580, something like that, right? So I'm thinking, going, all right, it's not like the worst thing in the world, right? But it's a lot more than $5, which is what I've been paying, or which is what I did pay when I unlocked Coach's Eye. Maybe that's the downfall of Coach's Eye, right? And then we went over to OnForm. Like, I think it was day 2. Actually, we were walking down that far left aisle there, and so OnForm's like, I should go talk to these guys, right? They got video, Chris Dunn sitting there hitting them. Like, he's a Colorado guy.
Chris is their
like,
big selling point.
Yeah, so I was like, let's go talk to these dudes, right? And so we started talking to one of the guys that was running it. I don't remember if it was Anthony or Tony or something like that. And said, all right, dude, I've already got the spiel from V1. What's the spiel from OnForm, right? And he's like, well, we've got this. We've got engineers from Huddle, and he's like, here's your roster of players, and here's how you break them down, and comparative videos, overlays, the whole 9, right? Basically exactly the same. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. What's this going to cost me? And he goes, I want to say it was cheaper than 3. I think it was like $270.
$270, yeah.
Ooh.
Show price was $270 for the year, and I'm sitting there going, well, that's like 50% cheaper than those V1 guys across the hallway. And basically does the same thing,
Right.
right? And then he even told us, he's like, dude, you don't really technically need to get a separate account for every coach at the
Right.
facility. Just use one account and separate your players by team, right? So you're the hitting team, Connor, right? Cole could be pitching team A, and I can be pitching team B, and so on and so forth. So I was like, that's awesome. It's cheaper. The founder is literally in my backyard in Fort Collins.
Right.
Right. And so, and they're already promoting one of our good buddies and Chris Dunn down at High Pro. And I'm like, this seems like a little better deal to me. So, I mean, I think
and I like that. I like their interface too. I haven't experimented
it's pretty
with
clean.
it yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're all fairly similar. And, it's the way we use it, right? It's just, we don't need the complexity of it. I'm like, I just want a fucking video that I can go side by side. And best case scenario, I can overlap so I can see changes or tunneling or whatever it might be. And I want to draw some arrows on it that are like yellow and green and red and shit, right? And it's like, it can't be that hard, people.
No.
Like, I don't like, why are we like, I want, honestly, and what I should have asked the dude is like, how many of your actual users are using it in this form, right? Where you've got teams and they're separated and you're doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, it just seems like overkill. But again, my viewpoint is from, fast, right? Like how we utilize video. But I don't use it as, Johnny pitching coach that is doing remote lessons or has a, doesn't have a facility, but is giving some sort of instruction somewhere. So maybe there's some power users out there that are doing that locker stuff where they're trading videos and analytics and all that stuff. But the one thing that OnForm did have, now that I'm thinking about it, that V1 didn't have is the mechanical overlay, the biomechanical, skeletal overlay.
Yes.
And they told us that they might be working internally on some basic biomechanics metrics to go along with that, which is super intriguing.
What I really liked about it too is I had asked him, and actually in the video that he showed, there was two different people walking down, and it automatically picked up both people and did the whole skeleton thing for it.
Wow.
And so for me, where I have my overlay, and the big thing was, I asked him, am I able to import a video? Does it have to be taken from the iPad, or can I import? Because all of my videos recorded multiple angles and stuff like that. So I have 3 different camera angles of the same swing from different angles. That's going to allow me to have every single angle to have its own skeleton to view. All right, what's the body doing from this angle? What's the body doing from this angle? What's the body doing from this angle? For me, that was awesome, just to be able to have that ability. You should be able to
compare those skeletal numbers too, if they're going to do something like that, to see how accurate or close they are to one another.
Yep. So
just inverted.
That was exciting for me too. And then I don't know, I was actually pretty intrigued with how they did the locker and the communication aspect of going back and forth. Almost felt like an Instagram with the like personal DMs and stuff like that, but just directly to the player.
I didn't slide in any DMs, so I'm not super aware of that stuff. I'm just really interested in the video. But I mean, like I said, I think it works from like a remote training standpoint. Having an athlete be able to send you stuff and you send stuff back and dictate and all that stuff. But like I said, I think overall from a technology standpoint, there wasn't anything.
There was thousands of force plate companies.
Yeah. I mean, like you had like Qualisys was there, right? That's like $100,000 motion capture systems. Yeah. Like 99% of the people walking around those floors can't afford that shit, right? And then you had the force plate mounts. And I think there were 2 or 3 companies that had that stuff. And I was like, again, you're kind of working with a very niche crowd that would be able to afford that. Like I look at it from our facility standpoint, I'm like, TrackMan or force plate mount? Like I'm going to err with a TrackMan. Right. Like my return on investment is going to be dramatically higher. That's my big gripe with a lot of those companies. I'm like, you price people out of the market, with a lot of that stuff.
Well, it just seems like there's some companies that just don't feel like they really belong with who they are marketing to.
Right. But I think that's their viewpoint, right? Is they go, well, TrackMan's got a giant market share, right? They're charged $25,000 a unit or $20,000 a unit, right? Rapsodo goes, well, the B3 or the V3 unit that they have is like what, 12?
Yeah.
13,000
And it's
bucks.
hitting and pitching.
Right. Like the individual units were great because they were a lot more affordable when they were $3-4 grand. Right. But at 12 grand, yeah, it's a bigger chunk for a lot of people to bite off.
And only baseball.
Right. And hit tracks, same thing. It's right. It's like what,
But-
16 grand now? It used to be 24. Like that's a big investment.
But I like it. I like it from the standpoint of like Qualis is a good example of that. I don't know how many times we passed by that giant metal monstrosity of a pitcher throwing into a net with
Right.
cameras to his back corner, other back
Yeah,
corner
yeah.
right behind him, and you could get. I mean, it was cool technology, but for how like whatever the price tag is, like who?
I mean, it's like $100,000 motion capture
right.
system.
It's like, and who even in the highest level of college programs, and we saw like Ohio State was there, all these programs with a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
I'm like, not even. I don't think.
I mean,
these
but there
programs
were
are gonna-
MLB and pro teams there too. So
There were.
to their point, it was like
But you could, but you could do that at the winter
because I've
meetings.
seen them there before. They've been at they were at the Nashville show, 3 years ago,
Right.
and had the same thing. I actually talked to them a bunch because I was like, how much does your system cost?
Right.
I'm looking for a low dollar like entry barrier.
It
entry.
is,
I go,
it ain't it?
well, you might want to go somewhere else.
But if like your market's already going to be like, I'm assuming they had a booth at the winter meetings. Like
I would
how-
hope so, but I mean,
because ABCA is more marketed towards the amateur baseball side, not the
True.
professional baseball side.
True. And it could just be something too where it's like a calculated exposure thing for the company, right? They go, well, I could spend X amount of dollars on getting a booth and expose my product, get the name out. We're literally talking about it on this podcast, right?
Right.
It worked.
No free ads.
It worked. 100% it worked, right? Like we're talking about it. Therefore, people know what Qualis is, right? 3D motion capture. Start being synonymous with it. So, yeah, it may not seem logical on the front end, right? But they had a presence.
Right.
So it is what it is. And I guarantee you they had great conversations with somebody from somewhere, right? Whether it was MLB or college or, somebody with a big ass facility. So, but it's like, there were lots of similar stuff like that. A lot of booths with stuff. You're just like, oh my God, another one of these. Like, oh my God, how many more uniform vendors do we need? Or how many more equipment vendors do we need? It's like, Jesus. Right. But everybody's trying to carve out their niche, right? Like
Right.
how many more tea companies do we need? Or how many more baseball companies do we like literally the baseballs, right? Like, but
Which
everybody
was one of your secondary goals of this
it
entire
was.
you and Amanda.
and we hit it out of the ballpark.
Oh, boy, you
Home
did.
run, baby. Thank you, Baden. Baden?
I think it was Baden.
Did he say Baden?
I think he said Baden.
I don't know how to say it.
Shout out.
I've been calling it Baden.
Shout out
Whatever
to
it
Baden,
is.
Baden.
Thanks, bro.
You guys
You
are the
hooked me
best.
You just saved my collegiate summer budget.
All right, so I'm interested in this. Who is someone that you saw at the convention that kind of surprised you the most?
Jack White.
All right, let's do this story.
Like
All right.
the
So for
Jack White
the
from the White Stripes.
So what was this, Saturday or was
No,
it Friday?
this was Friday night.
Friday night. So Friday
After
night
happy
they're-
hour.
they're- Friday night happy hour. They're kicking us out of the complex because like, okay, we're closing the trade show for the night. You and I are walking together. Connor's
Yep.
a little bit in front of us, I think.
No, I was lost.
Were you already gone? Okay.
No, I was lost. I was trying to find you guys.
Okay.
There's
So
literally nobody there. Connor was
we-
just wandering
Right.
around.
We were walking. I forgot who we had just finished talking to.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
And
I remember the general area
Yes.
and going, oh, was it? No. Were we waiting?
we were
at
talking to the Yakutech guys a little bit more like KC or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? I think I got the from my buddy Emrod.
Yes.
I think I had gotten
we got
the bracelets
bracelet.
for the
So yeah. So we start
after party. that I
we
didn't
start
go to.
walking out. We start walking out towards the doors, and out of the corner of my purview, like I don't think you would have even noticed it
No
for a second.
snowball's chance in hell I would have known who that was
And I walk by
until
and
you said something.
yeah, I'm walking by and I see this guy. I'm like, why does he look familiar? And I mean, Jack White's one of my favorite musical artists. I've always loved the White Stripes and everything he's ever put out as a solo artist. And I look over and I'm like, God, that guy looks fucking familiar. And I look at Jason, I'm like, that looks like Jack White. I'm like, I think that's Jack White. And we look back at him, I'm like, that's definitely Jack White. And so we go back and walk towards them. And I think you opened the conversation just like, hey, Jack,
It's
we
like,
just want to get a picture. And
I said, hey, Jack. And he turned around. I was like, all right, kid, it's Jack White.
yeah.
I said, hey man, can we get a picture?
That was the validation right there. Like, oh, thank
I was
God.
like, hey, can we get a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, he was super nice about it.
Yeah, awesome. He was an awesome dude.
And so we got our picture, and then I asked him, I said, did you like play baseball when you were younger or something? Like,
Nope.
obviously,
Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, he goes, every school that I ever played at, like, didn't have baseball, but I am a part owner of War Stick, and I do all their design work. And I'm sitting there going, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
and he lives in Nashville.
And
obviously,
I
which makes
saw
it
one
super
thing.
easy.
Like, I always knew he's a huge baseball fan because he's.
Right.
I mean,
Well, that's what I think I asked you when we were walking towards him. I'm like, why the hell would Jack White be here? He goes, he's a big baseball fan.
he's a huge.
Really?
He's a huge Cubs fan. Huge
Yeah.
Cubs fan. Like I remember there's a picture that always goes viral every once or twice a year of him sitting in a Cubs jersey, and I think like Cubs had lost. Like,
Did he sing the seventh inning stretch?
I think he's
ever?
done that before a few
Okay.
times. But there's a picture of him sitting in the stands of Wrigley Field, and I think the Cubs had gotten eliminated from the playoffs, or
Again.
it was like a Chicago in like September, October, where it's just cold as shit.
Right.
And he just sits there, and he looks like Jack White miserable.
right.
Right. He's just like sullen and sad. He just so it's always
Pale.
it's always a picture that goes viral every once. That's how I knew he's a huge fan.
Right.
But I mean, you're sitting there in Nashville. There's thousands of people there,
Yeah.
and you just pick out. There's a rock and
Yeah, I
roll
mean,
legend.
it's like a who's who of baseball, right? And then you're like, that guy is a musician.
It's like then
and
you see
he's
this
really
this guy
good.
who's gonna be a like first ballot rock and roll Hall of Famer.
Right.
You're just like, what is he doing
Yeah.
here?
So for those that are watching at home, if you ever buy War Stick or go to their website or whatever it is, he designs that shit.
Yeah,
And he also partly owns the company.
yeah.
But I also think there's some other famous owners of War Stick.
Oh, really?
Some other investors. Yeah. I mean, you could probably Google like who owns War Stick.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure that there's some other.
So I feel Jack's got the number one spot, but from a baseball standpoint, like who was something like you were really interested to see that like, oh, I didn't know he was going to be here, or oh, it's cool to run into you and see you maybe have a conversation.
So War Stick was founded in 2011 by
Okay.
Phillies second baseman Ben Jenkins
okay, I
and
remember
Jack
him.
White. They're headquartered in Dallas, Texas. Guess where ABCA is next year? It's in Dallas, Texas. We're gonna have to look for Jack.
Oh no, Jack should be there.
Should I slide into his DMs
Slide
on
into
Instagram?
Jack's.
Like, hey Jack, remember me?
Can we just have like a small? I would love
I think
to
Ian Kinsler's another big investor in.
I
War
would
Stick.
imagine there's a good amount of baseball investors in that.
Sorry, go back to baseball celebrities. Yes.
So who are like the baseball celebrities you saw?
I mean, Manny Ramirez.
Yeah,
Little John?
Like I love Manny Ramirez. Like love him, just everything about who he is. And so I was actually wandering around trying to find you guys, and then my buddy John shoots me a text, and I was like, he goes, "Where are you?" So I'm over by this booth or whatever. Like I'm trying to find these guys. He's like, "Oh, well, I just took a picture with Manny Ramirez. No big deal."
In your life. All right, where are you?
Well, it was funny. Because I forgot who we were talking to, but I saw you walk up. You went one direction. I'm like, oh, he lost us. I'll have to shoot him a text. And I look back up, and you go back the other direction towards Manny where he was. I'm like, where'd you go?
Well-
He's like, oh, Manny Ramirez is here.
well, John goes, I think they're closing the line to take a picture with him. So I was on a dead sprint. Like if there was a baby in my
He
way,
was,
that thing's
he was
getting
probably
punted.
live on Instagram. You should have just joined him. Like, Manny,
We did join
He
him.
was.
don't close it down. I'm
We
coming,
went-
baby.
Well, when we found him, he was on. He was
Oh, I
taking
know. I
pictures.
remember that.
And
yeah.
you looked. He was going.
I was
Instagram-
watching him live.
He was Instagram live
Yeah.
as he's taking pictures. Of
He was
people.
literally just like Instagram living his chin because he just had it at his waist while he's taking pictures with people.
It was
Like
awesome.
not even saying a word
I
or
love
acknowledging
Manny.
people that were there.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just. I thought it was hilarious to see him there, but I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's just bring Manny.
Right.
Let's just bring Manny to the 44 glove booth
That's it.
of all the things.
So who was your baseball celebrity?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you would agree with it, but I mean, mine was kind of split between Jaeger and Tom House.
See, I can't. I should be exempt
you
from
know-
this conversation because Jager's like my mentor, and I can call
Well,
him right now.
you can cut non-Jaeger.
Yeah.
So I
Like,
would say probably Tom.
Who was your white whale that you saw?
well, I mean, Tom House is probably it. Like I've never met him before.
Yeah,
and,
I think for me,
I've
yeah.
only ever heard like legendary stories. What Gene has told us.
Right.
Gene Coleman, who was my first strength coach in baseball, and Obviously, he's got the mustard stuff, and we've had students in the years past that have gone down to San Diego to do his MPA stuff, and I've always just thought him like, it seems like he's like the godfather of pitching coach type deal, right? Like you got to meet him. And then, and we did meet him, and I guess I just found this out tonight. Like I told you guys, I'm like, he just kind of, I don't know if he was tired, but he looked really frail and like fragile. And, obviously he was smiling, he was super friendly, but I just found out tonight that apparently he has Parkinson's.
That doesn't shock
And I'm
me at
like,
all.
well, that would explain.
I didn't notice that
lot.
because my grandfather had Parkinson's, and I noticed that.
Mine did too, but
Same.
I should have been keyed off by like the shuffling and the like, being very careful about movements and things like that. So, that obviously makes it
adding
sad.
to that context.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean it's sad, but Rocky Collis was the guy that got us to come over. Rocky was a Jaeger disciple when I was doing those camps. I was in the big leagues, and he had just gotten drafted.
Yeah, Rocky was fun,
and Rocky was great. And so he's like, "Hey, man, you should come over and meet Tom, and we'll take some pictures." And we had lunch, and so that was cool.
Right.
I mean, that was really. I think
I feel like Tom is kind of on that, like, for at least in the baseball, he's kind of like the Dalai Lama of like pitching and kind of like that. Where
you feel like everybody knows who Tom House is, right?
Yeah,
like
like everyone knows who the Pope is, or
right.
like
he's the most famous pitching coach ever,
right?
Because
he
what
worked
he
for
did
Nolan,
with Nolan and
Randy and all,
and
these
even
guys.
like Tom Brady and like all the big other non-baseball players that he's helped out, right? It's almost like Andrews.
He's kind of like
just on the other side.
He's in a stratosphere just on his own,
right?
And
realistically, you could probably put Jaeger and Bodie and some of those guys in a very similar, even though they would both tell you like there's no way in hell that we're there, right? But I would, you said Dalai Lama. I'm like, Jaeger's my Dalai.
Right.
Alan is very, he's Zen, right?
Sure.
He is what he is. And he's a social butterfly. I mean, he's just flying around the convention floor.
I think he
hugging people.
He had that split booth with Driveline. It was the Driveline Jaeger band booth, and I think he was there maybe 10% of the time.
Well, and it's, and for those guys too, I mean, think about it. Like,
Kyle said that, and Kyle told us, "It's like, I'm here as a face."
Yeah, like Alan's been doing what he's doing for 33 years. Right. Like, there's not a Division I program in the country that hasn't won a national title in the last 10 years that's not using Jaeger bands. Right. Like, there's not a major league ball club in the country that hasn't won a World Series that doesn't have J bands hanging in a locker somewhere.
Has someone that does
like
a form of long toss.
Like where his business is at, he's got nothing to prove to anybody.
No.
He is just shaking hands and kissing babies literally all day, every day.
Yeah.
But he, like Kyle said, he's the face, right? He's got guys that are selling. Sarge was there. Sarge is an amazing human being.
Yeah.
Right. Sarge is there selling stuff, talking about the product, right? Kyle was there. I think he just came to play chess, but Kyle was there. But the other guys, right? The Jeremy Schachtels and the Max Engelbrechts and the Brent, the
guys who've kind of like taken his place.
Yeah, the Stokies of the world, like those guys that are the real instructors, the people that are doing the dirty work. Like Kyle did that years ago. And now, like you said, he's more of the face.
Yeah.
Right. He's what got the company big, and but he does other things. These other guys basically run the show.
That's why, like I always said, like I think the big two for me were Tom and Alan. Like, because I'd met Kyle before when he came out here.
Right.
So Alan was always like, when I got into the J band program stuff when I got into it in college, but like in high school, like I printed out like everything that was on the website. I still have the binder of all the stuff on Alan's website.
It's funny how I guess maybe I've taken it for granted over the years, like my relationship with him. Right. Where I go,
like you got get to work with him.
Yeah. And I can literally like call him anytime I want.
Whereas
and have
here
a great
I'm just printing out every fucking blog.
Right. And it's just, just weird.
I actually found it not too long ago. I was like, holy shit, I have all like the early days of like Driveline stuff, all the Jaeger stuff. And
it's funny because I don't think of Alan as like a celebrity.
Right.
He's just a friend.
Right.
Like I don't always think of Kyle as a celebrity. I think of him as a as a friend, a pseudo friend, I guess.
Someone who
I mean,
we
but
support,
like we have
he
a
supports
mutual
us.
respect for each other, and obviously we were an early adopter on Driveline, so there's a level of respect there. Gold ball facility, but you know what I mean. Like I feel like there's a friendship there. I don't look at that like I look at Tom House.
Right.
Right. Where I'm like, I don't know this guy. I've only ever heard cool things about him. Like, I'm going to go geek out a little bit.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's like what I was like when for as long you and I have known each other. Like I've only heard of Alan things through you.
Right.
And then finally get to meet him. And like, I'm like, I sit there. I'm like, hi, Alan. It's a real pleasure to meet you. I've learned your shit all the like. And he goes like, let's hug it out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like holy fuck.
That's Alan.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's like one of those, like, there's that stature of, for people who know you versus people who don't and like admired you and what you've done.
But he's a genuinely good human being.
He was great.
Right? Like
phenomenal.
He's been like that since the first day I ever met him.
Right.
Like that's Alan.
Well, that's
he's a very genuine human being.
That's like what, like you and like Rocky and who was the other couple people we talked to that was with you in the early days. It was like Emra. No, Emra wasn't in there, but it was
from where
you, like who you and Alan wanted to get pictures with. So Rocky was one of them, and there was one. There was like rolling
Wiz,
around.
Yeah, Wiz.
Wiz
was one. He was actually camps before I got there.
Okay,
but there was like
but like you've known,
but it was like a who's who for Alan, right? Because he's like he remembers everything,
right?
So it's like, well, these guys were in my camp in '96, and these guys were in the camp in 2004, and these guys were in the camp in 2010. It's like, but I think that's that's cool for him because. What he did, like even when I was playing, was not really mainstream by any means, right? Now, long toss was more mainstream, but doing yoga and meditation and
do you
visualization.
Think like the systematic long toss versus just go throw this ball as far as you can?
Yeah, I mean, I think he gave a rhyme and a reason to it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, well, we just do this because. And listen, there was even a day when people still badmouth weighted balls and other, certain forms of training. But there was a day when long toss was considered controversial, right? But even doing band work was considered to be like witchcraft, right? And now you look at it and you're like, well, long toss is widely considered to be a very effective, helpful tool. And J-bands are widely considered to be like one of the cheapest, most effective forms of arm care. Mm-hmm. So, and I do see some parallels in what, Kyle and them are going through, where it's like we invented something that people bought into and then people tried to tear us down. And we've found a way to persist and even prove that a lot of the stuff that we originally set out to do was the right way. Right. And now I almost feel like a lot of that negativity has gone away because it's become more widely accepted. Right. Where even some of the coaches and people that were like, oh, that's going to hurt your arm have come around to, it's actually pretty helpful.
Right.
Like we let guys do it or we incorporate it as part of our program. It's the same way that long toss was thought of. Even back when I played pro ball, there were guys that were like, no, long toss is bad for you. It's going to hurt your arm. I'm like, the fuck you talking about, bro?
Right.
Like long toss has done nothing but make my arm feel amazing. Right. And like just giving me the freedom to just throw the shit out of it and feel healthy the whole time.
Right. It's like what we talked about in the past. It's like that. Was there like a golden rule? That's the 12th commandment. The 11th is a baseball can only be 5 ounces, and the 12th is you can only throw to this distance, or else your arm's going to break.
That's right. You can only do not exceed 120 feet of distance in throwing.
Right.
Ever.
Who did you run into? Anybody that kind of like oh shit, I can't believe I'm meeting this person, or was there?
Yeah. So enough with the pitcher talk. The guys over at Driveline.
You know what? You're outnumbered, bro.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Jason Hirsh, I've never actually met him or anything like that. I've always just heard about things that he's done, stuff like that. And so
his beard was on point.
It was awesome. It was good.
Great
beard.
It
was good.
Dark as night.
And fresh, clean Jose
Yeah, I almost
Batista.
feel like it was a little maybe
Just for many.
Are you
just for
gonna say
many.
it?
Yeah,
Are you gonna say it?
I was gonna say maybe
Ooh.
Keith Hernandez
Are we
was.
gonna Jason's gonna comment on this.
I know,
God
right?
damn it, Jason.
Shut up, Jason.
And then also, I'm gonna screw up his last name.
Jasons don't throw other Jasons under the bus. Just doesn't happen. Sorry, Och.
I would say I'm gonna mess up his last name. John Steparamos, Stamiamos.
Yeah.
Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, Stephanopoulos, that guy.
Steratopoulos.
Absolute
Driveline
pleasure.
guy who's working now for the Red Sox.
Yeah,
right?
we should really clean that name up before he gets really mad at you guys.
No, I've always wanted to.
Triceratopoulos.
Yeah, it's something. It's Greek.
right.
Is it though?
Yeah,
I think so.
Oh, of course it is.
yeah.
See, I said Shacktel earlier for Jeremy. It's not even close.
Oh God.
Sorry,
I'm so
Jeremy.
sorry.
Dude, you're the man. I appreciate all your help with track. It's Tactile.
Oh.
That was way off.
Brutal.
Well, okay. So,
Closer. I was closer.
You got Ochard and you get John. Yeah.
Those are probably the big ones. I mean, I've followed John.
It's John. We're gonna do this.
I told you it's hard.
Soteropoulos.
Soteropoulos.
I probably butchered that one
Oh,
too.
yeah. It's not. I told you it's not easy.
Soteropoulos.
Yeah.
Right. That's why there's a reason he's working for the Red Sox and we're not.
Soteropoulos. I don't know. One of those is Greekish.
Well,
what we need is we need to invite him out to Denver and he can come tell us.
Should I just message him right now in the Slack group and just be like, dude, how do you say your name?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
It's like,
Please do.
shut up.
But I mean, he's electric.
Right.
The stuff that he puts out, his content's on point. I mean, I'm friends with JP, who's friends with him,
Mhm.
and so just like hearing the insights from JP of like the stuff that he does, it's unreal, and he does it at such a high level consistently. I mean, over the month of December, he put out a new thing every single day talking about either biomechanics or what he does. And it wasn't just like a, hey guys, we're doing this today, and that's it. Like he goes in depth. He's very good with what he says and backing up and saying why he's doing it that way. And then also he wears jerseys on Fridays. He has tie-dye Tuesdays, and dude bangs energy
That's
drinks.
why
and
you
stuff
like him, because
that.
he hammers energy drinks, wears tie-dye.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And so like to actually be able to meet
Does he
him,
have a
and
fanny pack with a holster in it though?
he doesn't.
You should get him one
I should.
as a present. Hey man, I appreciate talking to you.
Here
Take
you go,
this
bro.
fanny pack.
I
Wear it with pride.
need to get a promo code first.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
Seriously.
one I had beyond Tom and Alan, and I think you'd agree with this, was probably the best conversation we had all weekend. Was with Steve from On Base U.
Yes.
Steve Johnson. We talked
That
with
was
him
at
for
least
an hour and a half.
At least an hour and a half. And I tried to end that conversation 3 times, and it just kept going.
And it was worth it.
And it was a great.
It was
like,
worth it.
It was like, well, I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Right.
It's like me trying to get away so that he could talk to other people.
Yeah.
And he
Just kept he dug us.
He kept pulling me back in, and
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's just keep going, bro. Like,
yeah.
do we want to do this over dinner and drinks? Or
I
like,
know.
that's really where it got to. But it was, I think it started with just a simple question, was like, how nitpicky do you get in,
Right.
in your on-base U screens? And an hour and a half later, he's showing me like, these are all the reports that we do. Here's how
Right.
we do our train with our
From his
athletes.
tiny facility out in California.
Yeah,
like a
was it
garage.
California or Virginia?
Oh no, he's in Virginia. He's in
I thought
Virginia.
you said Virginia.
TPI's where On Base Use is based off
Yeah.
of is in Virginia.
To a point where you took a knee.
I did take it. Well, that's because
Like,
I was looking at his report.
Yeah, he
And-
pulled out
and
some
I was
that's-
computer.
T-bowing actually in
So-
the middle of the convention floor.
If you haven't ever met Jason, what are you, 6'8"?
6'8".
So the easiest way, because like
Yeah,
I
you
said at
can't
the
miss me.
beginning, I was
literally wearing a red hoodie. I looked like a freaking Kool-Aid man walking around.
well, this day you were wearing black, and it messed me up. It was the one day
Yes,
you wore
we were
black.
we were wearing our polos.
But I was walking
yes.
around, and that was the easiest way for me to find you guys when I would go wandering.
Right.
Because I would just look, all right, where's the tall dude? And so I ended up actually walking past you guys. I was walking
I told
by.
you, go to the
I think at
On Base
one
U.
point I heard Cole on the phone like, dude, you just walked past us.
I was like, what? Well, it was also like you guys had sent me you were at On Base U an hour ago.
Right.
And I was like,
You didn't
all
think
right.
we'd still
we
be
were
there?
still there.
I was like, no way they're still there. And so
See,
I go
I
walking
totally
by.
thought that Cole was going to geek out over Rose because he's the face of ABCA. And when Steve started talking,
He
it was
just,
like tractor beams.
Right.
It was like, forget that guy.
Well, and I talked to him a little bit. He was a
Yeah,
really cool
he
guy.
seemed like he was nice.
He was very nice. But I think I feel like that's one of those things with all those vendors is like when they start talking to enough people, like you kind of just get sick of it. And
right.
even the people like, even I came up to him like, look, we utilize what you do. We'll really enjoy it. And he's like, thank you. Like, I don't know how many times you can hear people like, I love what you do. I love
you
your
should have gone up to
and
me like, dude, this is bullshit.
Maybe I'll do that next year.
Just break the ice a little bit. Like, dude, this is all bullshit. I can't believe you do this for a living, right?
I hate your squat
I hate
test.
your stuff.
I hate your squat test.
Yeah. I fail your squat test every time. It's stupid.
I will say the one cool thing, and for me, that was like not a fangirl moment, but like oh shit. I had Blast Motion reach out to me, and they wanted me to stop by their booth and give like a video testimony and stuff like that.
But I think that's cool that companies do that.
Yeah.
Like, like we talk about Driveline all the time, but it's cool that those guys they don't feel like they're so big that, little old us is beyond the pale for them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing. It's like, On Base U is like run by TPI and MLB. It's like you guys have giant client bases, right? Of like
you think about
stupid famous people, right? Like the best of the best. And here is me from Colorado who's just randomly walking up going, oh, we use your stuff. And an hour and a half later we get done talking to them. Right. It's like they have that kind of time and they want to do those types of interactions.
Right.
It's not like, hey, dude, buy my shit and get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, I want to create a relation. That's why I told you guys, I'm like, go create those relationships because you can't get that kind of connection online.
No.
Right. Or through a presentation. That only happens by shaking hands and talking to people.
Right.
Coming full circle on that whole beginning of the conversation. But that's where, that's, like I said, an hour and a half is a perfect example of, I meant to get out of there a long time ago, but the conversation just kept lending itself to more and more interesting stuff. And it really, after the first 5 minutes of On Base U talk, there was no more On Base U talk. No. We were talking baseball.
Oh yeah.
Like we were talking coaching philosophy and development philosophy and technology that we were using and player assessment stuff and people that we knew and meetings with GMs and big league clubs and conversations at the urinal because the dude couldn't talk in the main meeting. And it's like,
well, that was one of those things where Steve was so great. Because Steve and Tom House had worked together for years, so they're best friends. And Tom has done a lot of stuff with On Base U as well, so there's always that connection there. And so that was even before we'd even met Tom. We were talking to the On Base U guys, and like Steve was giving these incredible stories about Tom.
Well,
so
realistically, we were walking to the mustard booth,
right?
And we're like, well, let's just say hi to the On Base U guys.
Right.
And an hour and a half later, we made it to the mustard booth.
But what I liked, my favorite thing was when we were talking to Steve, was like that his whole philosophy there, and something like you and I've. It's kind of what we bitch about a little bit with some certain pro teams in this area, but it's that the thing about pro baseball is that
by all means, who are you talking about?
I know, but like pro teams can spit guys out. It's like I will find a alternative. He's like, but I didn't want to do that because he worked with the Mariners, I think, at the time.
Well, I think he said he'd been propositioned by like 18 ball clubs.
He was like, but I want to work with players and I want to make them worthy of pitching in the bigs.
Like us, he wanted to tell them the truth.
Exactly.
Right. And the truth sometimes for some organizations is not what they want you to tell them.
No.
Right. And not in the sense that, a major league club is going to purposefully lie to somebody, but it's one of those things where you kind of toe the company line to continue to receive the company paycheck.
Right.
Right. When in reality, especially like an On Base U type thing, it's like if you walked up to a dude, let's say he's a first round pick, and they're like, dude, your hips are garbage.
Right.
Like you need to move better. Right. And then the organization goes, what'd you say to that guy? Like, you can't say to him, he's a first rounder. You can't say that. Well, Jesus, Connor, clean it up, would you?
Bad.
You know what I mean? But that's what he was talking about. He's like,
Right.
well, the organization wants you to go work with this first rounder. Meanwhile, there's a 24th rounder down there who actually needs help, and you won't let me work with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where he got jaded, right? Because they're basically dictating where his time should be spent, when in reality, there was some diamonds in the rough,
Mm-hmm.
but he never got a chance to touch them because he wasn't allowed to, right? And that's the way big league organizations operate. I'm like, I don't know. I've always thought, I'm like, if you've got value, if you paid some dude to be in your organization, he should get some attention.
Right.
I don't give a shit whether he's a first rounder or a 25th rounder. He deserves attention. Right now, in reality, how much attention can you possibly give to every athlete? You know, with the number of coaching staff they have, it should be halfway decent.
Right.
At least I feel that way. You know, I don't feel like every player is just so massive in scale that you couldn't get to everybody, you know, at some point where you can give them some guidance.
Right.
You know, but it's a machine, right? It's like,
Right.
well, we drafted you. Yeah, you're shit. We'll release you and go draft another 5 or 6 dudes that throw 98. Like, we'll just turn them over.
Right. I thought that one thing that was interesting was like how he kind of went on a rant about it. And I think you and I both agree with him, was like how much those coaches don't necessarily get paid either. Like the roving coaches.
He thinks coaches are grossly underpaid.
Oh my God. Like, what was
like
it?
you're working with a dude who's worth, $16 million a year, and you're making, $35,000.
Right.
It's like, you can't be a coach anymore because you can't afford to be a coach, because you can't afford to live where you're supposed to coach.
Right.
Right. Because you're getting paid like shit.
Right. Exactly. It's like if I have to work with if I say, like, for example, the Rockies, and I have to live in Cheyenne because it's the only place I can afford to live, I was like, why would I be incentivized to work for that team?
Right. And I mean, it's like, that's the whole like education, like teacher conundrum, right? But it's like, well, teachers are grossly underpaid. I'm like, yeah, I'm a teacher. Like, I don't teach math or science or history. I teach baseball, but I'm still grossly underpaid, just like they're grossly underpaid. But at the major league level, where there's literally billions of dollars, it's like, you can't afford to give that guy like 80 grand a year.
Right.
Like, you don't tell me that you don't got that kind of money laying around.
No.
Like, that dude's literally responsible to protect your investment. You gave that dude $1 million, but the dude who's responsible for his safety, you're paying him minimum wage.
Yeah. Responsible for his safety, responsible for his development,
responsible for. You're responsible for protecting the investment.
Right.
For minimum wage.
Yeah. So,
thing, in reality, it's not minimum wage because they're working 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Right.
But one thing I thought was funny, I think, is one where we talked about meeting people that were like, you've seen on like social media or something. One of my favorite was meeting the John Madden guy, the Yugo Pro guy.
Yeah, Yugo Pro.
Like, I've seen his videos on YouTube for years and years. I'm like, oh shit, here he is. This guy's got,
and all because Connor wanted another stupid tee.
I know, right?
I wanted the good tees.
So yeah, I think, I don't know. You can say your piece on this as well, but like, I thought it was a fun thing. I can't wait to do it next year. There's so many things to do. There's so many people to see. There's so many people. Like, one of the things, like,
it's almost overwhelming sometimes.
It's very overwhelming.
Like, I remember starting that going, oh fuck, I don't know if I have time to see everything in here, because we spent the first day and a half in 2 rows.
Yes.
Right. There was literally like 13 rows, and 2 of them we spent a day and a half in.
You guys did.
I did. Right. And that's why, like, that third day, or the last day of the convention, I was like, I want to go to the right. I'm tired of looking on the left side.
I'm tired of looking at the people we already see.
I know everybody on the left side. I want to know what's over there. And the other day, there wasn't jack shit over there either. So
right. But it's
we were in the right
it's one
spot.
of those things.
But I just wanted to know. I was curious. Like, I wanted to know, like, oh, you have an apparel company. Like, sweet. Oh, you make turf mounds. Like, and you get some more apparel, and you get some more apparel.
Well, and that's one of those things is I thought about it too. We're like, I think we were intrigued by some of the companies just with like products they've come out with. I'm like, a lot of it's just rehashes of old ideas and concepts. Like, we saw plenty of, how many companies did we see there that are just kind of making like driveline plyo care knockoffs, but they have like some cool
Well, you have,
feature to them, like
the Marv balls,
Marv
right?
balls.
But then Marv balls have their own knockoff from Play 9,
right?
right? And Driveline obviously has their own knockoffs, and there's Kinetic Pro selling J bands, or their
Right.
version of J bands, and Play 9, they've got their version of J bands,
Right.
and
It's like,
so
yeah,
on.
like
And
Play 9
Bonet, they've got their version.
Play 9 had their version of Clean Fuego, and
Right.
and so it's like everyone's kind of, there's bits and pieces.
That's the
that
way
are
the
different.
industry works, right? It's
Right.
it's flattery that people are willing to try and effectively knock you off, right? Even though they never really will, but it's like, well, we can capitalize too.
Right. And I just think, and it's one of those things. I'm like, I sat there when we were playing with the Marv balls. I'm just like, okay, you've got the texture, you've got the seams, the rubber seams on them. Like, you look at them like they're the exact same weight as the driveline balls. They're exact same size. They're exact same, just everything about them. But there's just one or two minor differences. And
But there's a market for that. Like,
Exactly.
there's people out there that want a textured ball or want a seamed ball. They don't want to throw a cue ball.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're more durable, so that's they go with that, right? Like, it's, I said, different strokes for different folks. Like, I
Right.
guarantee you they sell a fuck ton of those things, just like
Mhm.
Driveline sells a fuck ton of their shit.
Right.
Like, it's there's
Like-
plenty of fish in the sea, right?
Right.
Like, there's
8,500 coaches were there.
yeah, you know what I mean? And there's how many millions of players are those 85 coaches going to affect over the next year or two?
Right.
Where it's like, all right, hey, Driveline didn't sell 24 plyo care balls because Marv sold 24, right? It's like, oh darn, Driveline's only going to sell 998 million sets of balls in the next year,
Right.
right?
And I think a good example of that would be Driveline has their Smash Factor balls.
Mhm.
And I've had those since the middle of the summer.
But who else has Smash Factor balls?
Marv has their own as well. And I mean, it's subtle differences. Smash Factors come in white and gray, half dozens. Marv balls comes in all white with red laces, and durability might be a little different. Maybe the weight distribution is a little different. So you never know until you try it out. Really excited. I bought 24 of the Marvs, and so going to test those out and do a little comparison. I tried giving some constructive feedback.
I'm going to tell John Triceratops to kick you in the balls next time he sees you.
Well, I mean, and this one is like, I love our driveline pop. I'm like, maybe willing to experiment with those Marv balls, just with the seams and the texture.
I'm curious in terms of the squishy factor to those balls.
Right.
They were kind of squishy compared to the plyo balls that we've used, which have a little more. I know you can pump them up, but that was one of the questions I asked was like, what's the ideal air pressure on these? Like, are they supposed to be somewhat more rigid, like a baseball, or are they supposed to be kind of gummy feeling? Because I know that there are some forearm issues if the ball gets too gummy and you're trying to throw it hard,
Right.
regardless of texturing and lacing. Like, and then the guy's like, "Oh, this is about what you want." And I'm like, "That's a little squishier than I think I'd like. I'd like
Right.
to have more firmness to a ball."
Mm-hmm. What was some interesting? I don't know how to phrase this, but like someone you ran into that you didn't expect to,
Great question. Great question.
Just like you didn't expect them to be there, and somehow you saw them, and you're just like, oh shit! Like for me, like I saw.
Definitely the bouncer at the honky tonk.
We'll talk about that later. So like for me is like I saw Jesse Pugh, who works for Triple Crown. I went to college with him. I'm like, I didn't expect to see you. You get the most random fucking text in the world from an unknown number that says, "Come find me at Eugene Bleecker at 108."
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then it ends up being Casey,
Yep.
who played for you for the Lowry Bombers,
Speaking
trained
of
with us.
Triceratops last name, Castruya, I believe is
Castruya.
how you pronounce the last name.
Right.
He
And
had
he was
run
just-
into Connor, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so he had texted me. And
You didn't have his number saved.
I didn't have his number saved. Oh, who the fuck is this guy, right? So I start walking over there, and there he is, right? And he's got these little fascial sticks.
He picks us out like that.
Yeah, it's not that hard, right? 6'8", right?
Yeah, 6'8", and then he sees me
and
too.
he played
and
for
like,
the summer college team that I was or I had owned.
right.
So yeah, he comes up and he's got these little fascial sticks that he's trying to hawk, and he's doing all this 108 stuff. And I think he had a few beers that night too.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of this event,
Right.
Right. Like I've got a fucking photo gallery of random people that I ran into,
Right.
right? Whether it was Jason Grilly coming up to say hi. Like last time this was in Nashville, as I'm registering, LaTroy Hawkins is registering, and I'm like, the fuck you doing here? He's like, oh, I was in Dallas last year. I hadn't decided to go, and that's because that's where he lives. He's like, I had so much fun. I wanted to come back. Then we see Virgil Vasquez from Throw Revolution or Revolution Throw. And Hawk had introduced me to him at the last Nashville showcase. And I'm like, I'm meeting this. He's like, you got to see my buddy Virgil. And I was like, all right, sure. Like, anybody of yours is probably going to be a buddy of mine. So we go over there and he's talking about this Revolution Throw tool and getting inside a 90. He's like, yeah, Virgil's a pitching coach for us in the Twin System. I kept looking at this guy going, I know you from somewhere. All I knew was his name was Virgil at this point.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I'm like, I was looking at him going, why do I know you? What's your last name, bro? He goes, Vasquez. I'm like, did you pitch for the Perth Heat back in 2013 in the ABL playoffs? He goes, yeah. I'm like, I was on the Aces. They flew your ass in just to come in and throw 7 shutter up our ass. And then you turn around and flew out. He goes, yeah. I was like, I knew you. I played against you, you son of a bitch. And then some, and there he is. It's like, right? It's like, I know Hawk.
Right.
Hawk knows Virgil. I know Virgil, but I don't know that I know Virgil. Boom. Right? Make those connections. So then who do I run in this year? There's Virgil.
Yeah.
Hey, Virgil, what's going on?
We knew he was there because
we saw his booth, but then I ran into him.
Right.
I was like, dude, I'm like, where's Hawk? He's staying in, he was going to the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
So I took a picture and I sent it to Hawk. I'm like, bro, miss you.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. He's like, oh, I was going to the Chiefs game. I was like, all right, well, you better be in the freaking Dallas one next year. He's like, oh, I'll be there.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's literally in his backyard. But, it's like those types of things, right? It's like, who else did I see? I saw one of my old college teammates who's now coaching at a high school in San Diego.
Right.
Brian Stimson. He's like, all right, sweet. Like Stimpy's awesome. I don't know. I got like a who's who.
I don't know. My big, like beyond like meeting Tom and meeting Alan, my big full blown nostalgia kick was meeting Clint Hurdle. That was the best.
That was pretty.
Can't miss him. He's the loudest guy in the room.
Like you said, he's the loudest. But like for me at least, like and you can attest the same. We're relatively the same age. I mean, like that. Like and you like this is going to be just whatever to you because you were part of the team.
Again, this goes into the like Clint's a friend kind of deal. It's like I don't have that,
but to us,
celebrity buzz. But I get it from your standpoint. Is like. You didn't play for him. You didn't, you weren't around him in that. And, your opinion or view of him is completely different than mine.
Right. Like I saw him on,
not that I have a bad opinion of him, but
right. It's like, but like I see him on TV. He was the manager of the team, my favorite team growing up.
The World Series team.
My World Series team. The one World Series team I have in my life. And, those like moments that I'm like, I can still remember to this day. I'm like, he was the guy that was orchestrating that. And then meeting J-Mo was also like, oh shit.
Jamie. I forgot Jamie Carroll. We saw him the last day we were there. You weren't there for that.
Yeah, Jamie was there.
Yeah, so Jamie Carroll was the second baseman in Rockies. Well, he was like super utility guy. Right?
He was also very famously the guy that hit the sacrifice fly. That's
correct.
Holiday.
That Matt Holiday touched home plate with.
Did he touch it?
So J-Mo coaches at a.
He's at Evanston, right?
Yeah, he's at Evansville.
Yeah.
But he was, he was like third base coach for Pirates in the big leagues. Like,
right.
J-Mo was part of the glue. We had a group of guys on our team called the glue.
Right.
They kept everything together, but they were mostly just bench guys. It was like, J-Mo and Quintanilla and Jeff Baker.
I feel he's a little bit more, but maybe I'm just misremembering.
He wasn't a full-time starter, but he definitely got plenty.
It was him and Kaz.
Yeah, he definitely got plenty of innings.
Yes.
It wasn't like he's the Sunday starter, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, it was great seeing Jamie, and my wife was there, and she knows Jamie and his wife, and they're twins, and so it's just good to catch up on.
So that was my.
But again, you're talking about like 8,500 coaches. You're gonna miss one.
Right.
In fact, almost every single Colorado coach that was on our flight going out, I did not see.
Barely saw.
I saw Nick Childs one time.
Yes.
I didn't see Nick.
Outside of the initial flight, he the
I think the
last
only
day
one
of the
The
convention.
only one we really saw was Scott. Was the only one we really saw.
Yeah, we saw him in passing.
Yeah. And it was wild. Like, I mean, like how many times like we were trying to meet the Mount Marty University coaches,
Right.
an AIA in South Dakota that a couple of our athletes go to. And we're trying to text back and forth, like trying to meet these guys, like help them, like, be great to meet you. We'd love to help you guys in the future. It was during the social. And I mean, we text them, he would text back, like, we're here. And like, we would get sidetracked. They would get sidetracked. It's just like, it was impossible to like, I want to meet this person at this booth. This is my plan. Oh shit, I know this person. Let me talk to this person. And
that's how it works. It's
it's
like
just-
I need to go over here. Oh, like, oh, who's that over there?
right.
It's like the head on a swivel.
Right. It's like we're rock telling us come meet Tom, and then we go on base you, and then we're there for 90 minutes.
Now that I'm thinking about it, we're gonna rewind this whole podcast about an hour and a half ago. Technology piece that I thought was really cool.
Go
that
for
I
it,
didn't have an understanding of PitchCom. And there are 7 different versions of PitchCom that were there, all various versions. But the actual PitchCom that's used in MLB, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was all that expensive, which made it even cooler. And granted, it was $500 a piece, but I thought it was cool because it doesn't use. It's not like a walkie-talkie. I always thought it was just a walkie-talkie type thing, right?
Yeah.
It's literally an MP3 player
Okay.
that you put in your hat, and it weighs the same as 3/4, according to the dude. And you can load it up with anybody's voice that says literally anything that you can program into it. So he was saying that Austin Hedges has,
you were telling me the
from
story.
the Indians, has a button he can hit, and it says "fuck yeah." Like if a dude throws a good pitch,
Right.
he can hit the button and it'll yell "fuck yeah" in the guy's ear. I'm like, that's cool.
That's
and he's
awesome.
like, the guys from the Pirates have ones like, "Don't be a pussy." It's you can hit the button, like call the pitch, and then "don't be a pussy." I'm like,
Well,
that's kind of cool that you can live, and it could be anybody's voice. It could be anything you want it to say in English, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, like you name it, they can do it
right.
for $500 a piece.
Right. That's one of the things I've learned about when I didn't go to the PitchCon with you, but like what was go back to Steve. I'm like you, because you brought up the Indians, and I just remember him going to stories about like the smartest organization in the big leagues right now, bar none, is Cleveland. Like they're head and shoulders above
And they
everybody.
have been for a decade.
They have been. Like their
I
success
mean,
is
they may not be a contender, perennial contender, right?
but they're always solid.
player
They're
development
always,
side, yes.
they're always solid, and they always know how to develop guys to the level they need them to be successful.
They're doing things at a different level.
Yes.
So
So
I didn't mean to get sidetracked.
no, you're good. Do we have any other thoughts, comments, anything that you wanted to bring up over the week about the weekend? We could talk. We don't have to necessarily talk about the convention. We can talk about what else happened.
If anybody's listening, whether you're a casual fan or a youth coach of any level, T-ball to frickin' 12, 13U, right? You should go.
Right.
100% you should go.
I think it was awesome.
I think you should go just for the experience. Like I remember getting there and I'm going, God dang it, my kids would freaking love this.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's something I noticed. Like how many kids were there too?
yeah, there were a lot of
There were
kids,
a
but I'm
lot of
like,
kids.
you know what? Like, and then obviously you have a lot of adults too, but I'm like, my kids would freaking, how would they be able to sit there and listen to me and Stevie talk for an hour and a half? Like, no. But I'd give those little buggers $20 and let them run around for a couple of hours and be like, hey, meet me back at the, this place at 1:00. Like, and they would totally they'd go to every like batting glove bat. They'd be in the Hit Tracks booth, like smoking balls and, but they'd be having fun with it. Like, hey, just be respectful and, don't burn the place down and you'll be all good. So I think like if you've ever thought about it or didn't know about it, but it sounds interesting, go.
Right.
Like, it's worth it. It's like, it's a baseball mecca.
Oh, yeah.
You just have to. I think you'd have to experience it at least once in your life.
I think that one thing was something. Go for it, Connor, if you had any closing comments, and I have one more question for you guys.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, for me, like seeing old people. I saw a teammate of mine when I played up in Canada, just walking around. Dude's name Rudy. It's about, I don't know. Sorry, Rudy, if you're listening. Maybe 5'5", 5'6". Like Venezuelan dude that's just loud.
Full on Rudy.
And and I didn't even see him. So there was another guy walking around with another team that I played against, and I just, hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I thought he came from Canada. I was like, dude, how much did that cost you guys and stuff like that? And, oh, no. And then a couple days later, I saw him again, and I'm walking by. I was, oh, what's up? And I look over, and my buddy Rudy, who's now coaching at Trinidad. I saw one of my old college coaches that is now working over at TrackMan that I hadn't talked to or seen in 4 or 5 years and stuff like that. And so for me, like that was just that cool aspect of like reopening those, friendships and stuff like that, and being able to connect with guys and stuff like that. That was really cool.
So what's something that, assuming, and I feel like we can maybe confirm that, barring unforeseen circumstances, we will be at ABCA next year. What is something you want to make sure to do the next year? What's something you maybe didn't do this convention that we like, okay, I want to make sure I hit this, or I want to make sure I talk to this person should they be there, or maybe there is just a presentation. Like I really want to see this person. I want to see what they have to talk about, anything along those lines.
Personally,
for you and I, we're in a different boat because it's our first time, and like we can rate what we did and didn't do.
I think it was cool to be a person that was in awe, and I think next year I want to be the person that causes the awe.
Right.
Like the goal I have, I want to be the person walking by and people are like, oh shit, like, oh, that's faster RBI.
That's RBI, bro.
Yeah,
right. Well, I have this. My favorite was like, okay, now we know that there is a market, or there are people who do pay attention to us. As crazy as that sounds, it's like, okay, now how can I improve on that? How can I get more people to like? We can just be walking down an aisle and then they go like, oh, there's fucking Jason Hirsh, or there's Connor, or there's Cole, and these are the fast guys.
Nobody goes, that's Jason Hirsh. I go, man, that guy's tall.
But like we know it's one of those things like, okay, there is a market, and there are people who do pay attention to us, and there are people who take what we say and they think that there's a high value in what we say. And it's like, okay, well, how can I keep capturing that? How can I keep improving on that to get more and more people wanting to come and talk to us, have conversations with us?
I think how you mentioned it earlier, the idea of validation, and it's not that necessarily like looking for validation, but seeing that what we do, the space we're in, there is a level of validation that you can acquire. And I mean, just walking around King Supers here in Colorado, nobody's going to stop me and go, are you fast RBI? Like, oh my God. And so like, I've never been in an atmosphere where I ever thought that might even be a possibility. Like, I never thought that even thought you always had to be, politician, pro athlete, like something like that. But
within our industry, our niche industry.
Which is fine to me.
But I've never seen our niche industry have the ability to bring in 8,500 people all in one weekend. And so like I've never seen that. I mean, you go to PBR tournaments, you go to Perfect Game tournament, and you'll see like a guy there or a guy there. Eric Sim will go to a couple. Coach Ferb was able to take a picture with him. That was really cool.
He's a good dude. He was at that one last time in Nashville.
I didn't get to meet him.
You can't miss him. He's loudmouth soup.
Very, very loud. He had cameras following him, people all around him, and like
that's what we need to do next year too.
Yeah, we just need an entourage of videographers.
That was so wild. Seeing some of those booths where I'm like, God, you just get cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
But like I'm such a I guess goal-oriented person, and for me, I'm not going to try and attain a goal if I don't think there's a reason for that. And so like, yeah, it's nice, having our athletes understand and be able to follow what we do, or some parents or maybe some of the local high schools and stuff like that. But to have a place where you can have that notoriety or that validation, like I was like,
you can have a national brand.
Yeah, I was like, oh, like.
Well, that's why I said, like, with that guy in Minnesota, I'm like, oh shit, I'm known by a random guy in Minnesota.
Yeah, like.
Need to invent hitting fanny packs.
There you go.
I'm with it. But like, I mean, for me, like that was the like, oh, like, I think I'm like, I have a new goal. Like, and there's a reason to obtain it. It's not just to have, empty list fame or high follower count.
But I think that speaks to just the level of energy and motivation that you get post convention.
Yeah.
Right. Like as gassed as we all were, because we had some long nights and many drinks, but
but
you also
how many steps and miles we put.
No,
in
100%. I mean,
place.
I think the first day we went to six miles. Second day I did like 7 miles.
Right.
10,000.
We're putting on near 20,000 steps.
But I think that speaks to the energy that the motivation that comes out of something like this, right? Where it's like, maybe I was getting burnt out, or, keep doing the same stuff day in, day out. And then you go to one of these and you go, man, I feel invigorated. Like, I want to go home. I want to go back and I want to start working with stuff, and I want to start like doing this or doing that. Right. And like that's what's great about that. Right. It's a good way to kick off the new year, especially for what we do in this industry, working with, hundreds of kids and tons of hours for the next 3 months to get them ready for their season. It just kind of puts that into perspective for you.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I mean, I was like, as along the same lines as what you were saying. Is like, my big thing was like putting out more content or putting out more. Like, we talked about this in our year-end wrap-up from last week, where just like, I want to prove on, they were gonna show off the new upgrades to the TrackMan, but obviously they were having bugs, is what Connor told us.
Yeah, but we've already used it with the bugs and been all right with it.
Right, and was like, how can I improve on this technology we already do have? How can I utilize it in better ways? On top of like making stuff for social media and becoming more of a national name, at least in baseball circles, or like you're saying, like, I don't need to be famous walking down the dairy aisle at King Supers. I would love to be more famous that I can walk down an aisle. I can walk down the 500 aisle at ABCA and people go like, they want to stop me and have a conversation with me.
I know that logo. I've seen that before.
Exactly. Like, oh, I love what you do. I love what you guys put out. I love your philosophies. I love your...
Right. So, I mean, the other day, go do it.
You're saying it's just invigorating.
Just
and it makes you want to do it.
Go make content. Go, promote the brand. Go do what you need to do. And that's why that event is awesome.
It's
because
incredible.
It makes you want to go do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has felt what I'm about to say or anything like that, but like I put out a lot of videos onto YouTube and stuff like that, and a lot of them average 0 to 4 views. And it's like, you sit there and it's like, is that good? Like the 4 people that view this video, one of them's probably the kid, the other's dad watching the video, the other maybe grandma and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, like, I know I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to blow up by doing that. But at a certain point, when you go through month after month after month after month of putting out, high level of content, now the quality, whatever you may say, like, you're almost kind of like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, why am I here?
More controversial and TikTok-y.
Like, why am I here till, fucking 11:30 at night uploading and editing these videos to get 1 view, 2 views? And then, like,
because you love it.
And I do, and like, that's why we've been doing it. But now it's like, it's not that that's the sole reason I just want to get noticed, but it's like, people can notice, what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason, there's a rhyme, there's a purpose for what we're doing. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but you're
building your resume, right, for what will potentially happen in the future.
Yeah.
Because somebody will find out, and then they're going to go, Jesus Christ, look at all the friggin' videos in here. Like, literally don't have enough time to watch any of this shit, right? It's the same thing that, Joel and I do when we look at, the hunting industry, or, maybe there's other, baseball-minded people. It's just like, you find somebody and then like, oh, that was fun. Let's see what else they have. And then you start chasing the rabbit. You're like, oh my God. Like, well, this leads to this, and this leads to this, and that leads to that. I'm like, you're building your resume for when the time comes. Because you can, a big league team came and said, Connor, we need to see your social media presence. And you're just like, sure you got enough time for this? Right? And you give them your link. You're like, yeah, there's like 800 videos in here. Feel free to watch whatever you want. Like, go ahead and boost that viewer count.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and then the team goes, holy shit, this kid's been doing it a while.
Right.
Like, even though it's like, maybe it's a certain amount of videos or a certain amount of length or whatever it is, they just look at it and go, this kid puts in the time,
Mhm.
right? Like it's part of the resume. Just because it's there and nobody watches it doesn't mean it doesn't make a sound,
Right.
right?
I mean, I've been putting these.
Does the YouTube, that video that nobody watches, play sound?
I mean, I've been putting up these same stylish of videos for 3-4 years too. And it's like that was the first event I've been to where it was like I remember why now,
Right.
And not
well, and
remembering
somebody's
why,
watching, right?
and
They
it's
saw
not-
you and went, hey, I knew you,
yeah.
right?
And it's not saying that I'm not doing it for the athlete, because obviously, like, that's the whole purpose of what we do is for the athlete. But then it's also that little of yourself where it's like, oh yeah, like that's why I'm wanting to do this. Like there is like more levels to this than just, the base level of what you see. And like for me, that was that like, oh shit kind of moment.
Right. You guys have anything else? Any other closing thoughts? Or
Nah, I'll
Fuck
see you in
whiskey bar.
Dallas.
awesome, Connor. Where can everyone find you?
The good, the bad, and everybody in between can find me at fast_RBI, everything.
Jason, where can people find you?
Here at about 10 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night most days.
Hey,
I always do the
4650 Layden Street, Unit F, Denver, Colorado 80216.
yeah. So like, what you say? Like, you can follow me on Instagram.
Oh,
See Tom, go for it.
Yeah, what are we at Fast Baseball Dev on Twitter, at Fast Baseball on Instagram.
Don't expect a follow back.
Only if your name's Connor.
Fast on TikTok.
I don't do TikTok.
Oh, that's me.
Cole's
That's all
department. Facebook, we have a page. I mean, I'm sure if you message something, we could find you there. But realistically, go on Instagram. It's the best place for us.
Yeah, you can follow me on. Where can they find you on
Where-
personal thing? Oh, you
no,
you
stay
only
away
do the
from my
fast.
personal shit.
Yeah, you can follow me at cthomas624 on Twitter. You can follow me at Cole Thomas Fast on Instagram, Fast Baseball on TikTok. You can follow Fast Performance, that Fast Performance CEO on Instagram. Do they have Twitter too, or Joel?
We
Yeah,
have
they
a Twitter
do. It's
account, but
Fast
again,
Performance Co.
Yeah.
it just got to temper your expectations with that one.
Right. So
Twitter's not a great platform
Yeah.
for media.
find us, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. Yeah,
Support at fastcolorado.com if you have questions.
yeah. Reach out to us if you're going to be at the next
I'll
year's
answer it. We
ABCA.
don't really have a support crew.
Reach out to us if you guys are going to be at the next ABCA.
Comment, like this
Comment,
video,
like, subscribe.
like and subscribe. Smash that like button, bro.
Noti bell, Noti gang.
That's right. Notifications.
If you guys are ever in Nashville,
No,
visit
we're
Tower.
gonna be in Dallas
Visit-
next year.
no.
It's at the Opry.
Don't
Land
go to the
House.
whiskey
If
bar.
you're at Nashville, go visit Tower for those great breakfast burritos.
Oh, market, the Tower Market.
Tower Market.
Tower
That's our
Market.
shout out.
Oh, those were good breakfast burritos.
Very.
All right.
Good breakfast
So
sandwiches.
whenever you're in Nashville, go to Tower Market, get the breakfast burritos. Tell them Fast Performance sent you.
That's right.
Fuck the
will-
whiskey
They
bar.
won't know who you are, but they'll be good.
And we will see you next Tuesday.